Have you ever asked yourself, why does my body know things my mind hasn't caught up with yet? Have you ever thought why maybe your jaw is a little bit tight, or why that certain bit in your back is a bit sore, or why that certain niggle maybe in your stomach or something just hasn't gone away? Do you actually think your body might actually be trying to tell you something? Hi, my name's Annette Beckham. I'm a author, a frequency translator, a speaker, and a guide. And welcome to Annette Beckham Official. And this is a series. I think this is video number 4 in regards to your own sensitivity, which has a reaction and an effect on all areas of you. So in each video, we've explored a different area, a different energy, a different frequency. So my new book, The Frequency of Truth, there she is, exploring exploring consciousness, coherence, and the hidden architecture of the multidimensional human. Excuse me, that's a bit of a mouthful. But this is chapter 1 is a little bit of a memoir, and I really hope that it resonates with people because it gives kind of how being sensitive from such a young age has affected how we move forward and how we have moved forward and how it's affected things. But at the same time, we're also bringing in that sort of quantum physics element to this as well. And if we go back to the question at hand, it's learning to trust the intelligence that lives below all of that as well. So as I said, my name is Annette Beckham, and thank you so much for joining me on my channel. If you are new to my channel, welcome, and I really hope this helps, inspires, plants a knowledge seed, and many other things, or indeed just gives you more questions to ask and keeps you remaining curious, which is the most fascinating and exciting thing that we can be doing right now in this time, in this space. If you are a subscriber and have been with me for a while, thank you so much for being here, for listening, for your help, support, and your love throughout all of this and for my work. So underneath you'll see in the banner, The Frequency of Truth. My book is available on Amazon. Please do go and check it out. And if you have read it or have got it, please kindly do leave a review so that other people know if it's good, bad, or ugly. And Alarian Resonance, you'll also see at the bottom, that is my website. If you would like to get hold of me, that is where you'll find my blogs, my book, my work, one-to-one sessions, group sessions, and just so much more. Also, as usual, all the same social media links, buy me a coffee, Facebook, and so on. You'll find underneath there. You will see me looking at a little bit of a script now and again. That's just my blog. So a lot of these videos did start off as blogs to start with. But I wanted to bring them to life a little bit more, hence doing these videos. But if you would like to read the original ones, again, I'll put the link in the description below to my Substack profile as well. And that's where some of the previous blogs can be found too. So, right, let's actually get down to business here, okay? So if you'd watched 1, 2, and 3, you'll have a kind of an understanding of where we are. However, these videos are individual in their own right as well. So why does my body know things my mind hasn't caught up with yet, right? So say you're in a conversation. I'm just going to take this slightly off script a second, right? And your chest tightens. Isn't that your body telling you something? So not dramatically, just a closing, a subtle connection, The words being said are fine. Nothing obvious is wrong, but your body has already registered something that your mind hasn't yet named. Sound familiar? Yeah? Or you meet someone and there's an immediate sense of ease, of relax, of comfort. Your shoulders drop, your breath changes, and something opens. Before they've even said anything particularly significant, and before any logical reason, I've put here that you trust them. That's a very, very bold statement, but you feel comfortable in their energy, in their presence. Or you're about to make a decision, one that looks completely reasonable on paper, or something in you just won't settle. A low level unease you can't rationalize away, no matter how many times you go over it logically. So, practically, logically, kind of in theory, sounds great, but something ain't quite making sense, is it? So, we tend to describe these feelings as gut feelings. So, it's right there. You can't see where my hand is, but it's right down on the stomach. An instinct, a hunch. And then often we completely override it. Trust me, I've done that. Yeah, quite a few times. Some last for quite a few years. Anyway, sorry, took us slightly off script there. Completely, sorry, low level unease, rational way. We tend to describe these feelings as gut feelings, a hunch, and then often we override them because we've been taught to trust the reasoning behind the reasoning mind over the senses. So this is going, yeah, that idea is all well and good, but here, sorry, I'm pointing to my stomach down here. He's going, or even here. Here, you might just get like a little bit of a flutter going, not sure. Because the body's knowing is harder to explain, harder to defend, and harder to justify to other people. But what if the body knowing is actually more sophisticated, a sophisticated intelligence? And I think this is where we're getting to, isn't it? This whole multi-dimensional human is that level of consciousness, that level of intelligence is probably a lot higher than we've been led to ever believe. So how do we go past this then? How do we go how else do we perceive this? So I've put on here the next title as the nervous system isn't just a passenger. And people balancing up their nervous systems is becoming so apparent now, which is fantastic. Let's start with what's actually happening psychologically, because the science is here genuinely extraordinary. Or physiologically, as though I should have said. See, this dyslexic brain just really goes on its own little journey sometimes. So your nervous system is running on a continuous environmental scan all the time. Okay? And on here all the time. Below conscious awareness, it is reading every face, every voice, every tone, every shift in energy of the space around you and making rapid assessment, safe, unsafe, open, contracted. Something here requires attention or nothing requires attention at all. You still with me? Sounding familiar? Right, okay. So neuroscientist Stephen Porges, apologies if I've butchered that. So whose work on the nervous system I return to again and again, calls this neuroreception. And I do talk about this quite a lot. And what's remarkable about it is that it happens before conscious perception. The body has already made its assessment, already registered safety or threat before the thinking mind has. Before the thinking mind has formed a single thought about it. So all of that information, all of that data from everything around you, even if you're sitting in your bedroom that you do all the time, it still carry on scanning. Okay. So this is not a glitch. This is extraordinarily efficient system built over hundreds and thousands of years of human evolution. Yeah? Still with me. For navigating a complex social, psychological environment faster than the conscious thought allows. So if we were trying to pick up this on a conscious level, we wouldn't fucking move, would we? We wouldn't frigging move. I mean, I think it's one of my other videos to do with ADHD, so like the neurodiverse mind. And after it's been through something difficult, sometimes even using a knife and fork and the amount of stages and steps and the the motion skills and that is needed just to sort of eat with a knife and fork. You can imagine we're doing that. We're still scanning all around us. Say, like if we're in a restaurant, the body is extraordinary, is incredible. Anyway, I'm going off track, but also there's those videos too. So yeah, it's not a glitch, an extraordinarily sufficient system built over thousands of years of evolution. So the problem is that most of us have learned to treat this system as noise, as unreliable, as something to be managed, overwritten, and quietened down, particularly if we grew up in an environment. Now, this is key. In an environment where it wasn't safe to trust what we felt. I really wanted to say, do you get me? I don't know why. But you're hearing me on this one, yeah? Where we grew up in an environment where it wasn't safe to trust what we felt. Oh no, that's wrong. Stop being so stupid. No, that isn't right. Why are you doing that for? Sound familiar? Stop crying, or I'll give you something to cry about. No, he's being nice to you, not nasty. Just a few I can think of. Where what was perceived was regularly contradicted, dismissed, or even punished. So what your perception was of that time and space could have been contradicted, could have been dismissed, like some of the examples I've just given. And in some extreme circumstances that I've been told about over the years, punished for. So in these circumstances, you learn to disconnect from the body's knowing. Because if you've got somebody who's in more of a authoritative position, whether it be a parent or an older brother or sister or a family member or an extended family member or whoever, that's telling you you're wrong over and over and over and over and over again. It's like, well, hold on a minute. If they're telling me what I'm feeling is wrong, what I'm obviously, again, not using the word perceiving maybe back in those days, but how we understand it now. then yeah, we're not going to be trusting what we're perceiving, are we? Because we've been told for years that it was wrong. Not asking, are you okay? Or how are you? Or how does that feel like to you? No, it was their emotions that were the correct ones, not yours. To live more in your head, because to live more in your head was that continual questioning. Well, I guess I'm wrong then. But but again, that empathic side coming out, I need to make sure that they're okay. Masking. The times where maybe you cried into a pillow and then quickly dried it off with a hairdryer. Always that forward planning. Because they said that crying's not a good thing to do. Again, just a few examples. To run everything through the analytical mind first because the body signals feels too uncertain, too exposing, too likely to get you into trouble. Then I don't like going to see so and so. They really don't feel nice. Oh, don't be so stupid. Come on, let's go and see so and so. But the signal didn't stop. They just got a bit harder to hear, didn't they? Yours did. You could hear theirs. You could hear everybody else's, but not yours. So here's where I want to take a step further into territory that mainstream neuroscience is only beginning to approach, or as far as I believe, are only beginning to approach. But that I've been working with, I guess, practically for decades in one way, shape, or form. The nervous system isn't only reading the obvious signals, the facial expressions, the tone of voice, the body language. It's reading the field, the energetic quality of a person, a space, a situation, the frequency beneath the surface of what's visible. Because again, it was always being asked, well, how do you know that? Just do. Because you were the ones who could read what was beneath the surface of what was visible. But no one actually gave you a instruction manual of how to do that. And I bet, and I do repeat this, is that at times you were like, where's the off switch? So we touched on this in episode 2 when we talked about the body as an antenna. The body is not a passive observer of external reality. It is an active receiver continually processing information that arrives through multiple channels, many of which we don't have good conventional language for yet, but in which we very much do start exploring as DNA being a fractal antenna in the frequency of truth. But let's get back to it. So, earlier when we were saying the tightening of the chest when somebody speaks, it may not be anxiety, it may not be your your system registering a gap between what's being said and what's actually being broadcast at a field level. Your body is reading both simultaneously, and the dissonance between them creates a physical sensation. Wow. So your body is reading both simultaneously. And the dissonance between them creates the physical sensation. Have you ever been in a room with somebody and, oh, I bet this has happened thousands and countless of times, and you ask somebody, how are you? And they go, yeah, I'm fine. And then everything in your being is going, yeah, they're really not. Their eyes are going, yeah, I'm okay. Their tone is going, meh. But actually, what you're picking up is, God, that's heavy. So, as we were saying before, that immediate ease with a stranger, your field has recognized something, a compatible frequency. But as I said, this is sort of the opposite side of the coin. A quality of coherence in your system, a sense that this person is operating with integrity again before the mind has processed anything. The body is doing extraordinary, sophisticated work. It's been doing your whole life. The question is not whether to trust it. What do you think the question is? Because as we've said, we've kind of gone through many years of disconnecting, of not trusting it. So now is how to develop a clearer, more concise relationship. Maybe with what it's actually bloody telling you. Do you think? So, coherence, the state in which the body speaks most clearly. So, I want to introduce a word here that I've been building towards across this series so far. Coherence. In physics, coherence describes the state in which describes the state in which waves are in phase, aligned, ordered, moving together. A laser is a coherent light. Individual signals that might otherwise scatter, interfere with each other, are instead moving in the same direction with the same rhythm, amplifying rather than cancelling each other out. That is key, not cancelling each other out. When I use the word coherence in relation to the body and the nervous system, I mean something very similar. A state in which the different aspects of your system, the physical, the emotional, the mental, the field, are aligned. Because sometimes people say, oh, you need to work on this bit and you need to work on that bit. Well, how about having a look at the whole system? So, and not necessarily fighting each other. Because it's like, as we mentioned in like the previous video, a lot of people talk about quieting the mind. Well, how can you quiet the mind if the nervous system is in fight or flight mode? It's in fight mode, sorry. And then you're going, okay, conscious mind, you need to be quiet now, and your whole system is going like this. So I'm like, now you expect me to be quiet? You freaking serious? Oh, that changes the light, doesn't it? Look. Hey. So here's where this matters for what we're talking about today, okay? When your system is incoherent, fragmented, dysregulated, running on old threat responses, disassociated from the body, the signal your body sends are much harder to read accurately. Just what I was saying just there as an example. Okay, everything feels louder and more alarming than it needs to be, maybe. Or everything feels muffled and distant or distorted. You can't easily distinguish between a genuine signal from the field and a trauma response being triggered by something that merely resembles that original wound. Because again, this is what we were talking about previously with, if we're looking at the body as kind of like this human radio, and then if we've got, as I said, like this old, I call them like old tapes playing. So now I'm kind of like looking at it as a radio with an old tape player. And every so often you kind of play one of those old tapes. You think, yeah, no, we don't need to be playing those. It's interference in the signal, isn't it? So, but when your system moves towards coherence, when the nervous system is regulated, when you're genuinely present in the body rather than living above the neck, the signals get a little bit more clarified, don't they? So the body speaks with more precision. What you're receiving becomes easier to read, easier to trust, and easier to act on. Yeah? Coherence isn't a fixed state you achieve once. Do you think? Coherence isn't a fixed state you get once, it's a practice, a returning. Life destabilizes it quite easily sometimes. With a neurodiverse brain, it really does a lot more. But one thing I really, 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 really want to get across, and that I've learned the hard way, it is not failure. As I said, we were not put on this earth, whatever way you believe that is, with a frigging instruction manual. We are being bombarded with information all the time, whether it be social media, the news, work, family, life, or whatever. And you might have your system in complete coherence. You might have a really great nervous system, and then all of a sudden, something happens. It throws you off. It's not failure, is it? No. You're still there. It's just having that awareness and that level of consciousness to start bringing it back. To say, okay, where am I? What's my signal? What am I sending out? Because guess what? We're still human in these bodies, in these sacks, in these, oh God, they're called so many things in these, yeah, husks, meat sacks, bodies, having this multi-dimensional architecture. Hence the book. So the work is learning to come back to it, as I just said, grounding, regulating, inhabiting the body again. Because it's great to go out, as we call it. It's great to be at those higher levels, 100%. But at the end of the day, we're in these for now, okay? And as that becomes more natural, you're able to perceive and trust, and that deepens considerably. You know, you kind of like what do they call it? Was it eat, live? No. Oh, I can't remember. But basically, when you repeat it, it's kind of like muscle memory. Yeah? And you'll start knowing even before it happens when you're going to be pushed off kilter. So it's almost though you'll be able to sort of foresee it a little bit. So you might, as I said, get yourself back and then be knocked and knocked and knocked and knocked. But did you stay out there? No, you came back to grounding, to regulating, and to inhabiting the body again. Before I go on, there is a quick two little quick things that you can do. First of all, and I mention this a lot, it's more on the out breath. Yeah? Deep breath in, longer breath out. Really helps settle the system. And also, when we talk about inhabiting the body, sometimes just closing the eyes and scanning your body all the way through. Because you're then basically telling your mind, I've got feet, I've got toes, I've got legs, I've got hips, I've got a stomach, and so on and so forth. Because sometimes we kind of forget. So bringing yourself back to the body. The moment you stop trusting your body, I know I did. I want to speak about something that I think is true for a lot of people watching this. There is there was probably a moment, or even likely a series of moments, perhaps so gradual you can't point to a single one, where you learned that your body's knowing wasn't safe to act on, where you felt something clearly and were told you were wrong, like we were saying earlier, or overreacting. Oh, I hate that word. Or being too sensitive. When you trusted your perception, but it costed you something. Where the environment you were in required you to override what you felt in order to function within it, within that relationship, within that situation. But you know what we've come to get really, really good at, that sometimes we even forget ourselves, is adapting. But that's what humans do, don't they? Even like fish, they adapt to their own environment. Because that's what humans do. Oh, I've even read it down here, see? That's what humans do. You move the center of gravity upwards into the analytical mind. So we've started in the gut, then we've gone to the sort of gut and heart. But all of a sudden we've moved to here and we've stayed here. Where things could be reasoned, thought, justified, defended, where you could predict, control, and manage. And we actually thought that means we were less exposed. And I think we were, to a point, don't you? Because there we didn't have to say about our perceptions, our feelings that were always too sensitive, too wrong. And what was that other word I hated? Oh, where we were completely overreacting, darling, having the most dramatic moment. Should have been in the theatre. That adaptation made complete sense at the time. In many cases, it was genuinely necessary to survive. And now I'm going to do another one on survival, because I think that is absolutely key. And I think that really goes beyond masking, doesn't it? That really goes beyond masking. And when I say survival, that does sound really dramatic, but it's just so that you get on in a world that you don't understand. But like we all know, it does come at a cost, because the body didn't stop knowing. It just stopped being listened to. You know, when you're a kid and you were thirsty and you just asked your mum for a drink, done. When you're an adult and you want to drink, oh no, sorry, I've got this, and this to do before I actually, get myself fluids. It just stopped being listened to, and over time, that disconnection creates a particular kind of loneliness, a sense of being slightly at odds with yourself, of not quite being able to trust your own experience, of second guessing what you feel before even fully feeling it. So, coming back into relationship with the body's intelligence, rebuilding that trust is some of the most important work that I know about. Not through forcing, though. Mm-mm. And not through like this spiritual bypassing of love and light and that bollocks. It's not through forcing it or demanding of it from yourself. Because it's like, oh yeah, I'll start the diet on Monday, and then the following Monday, oh yeah, that Monday. Actually, you don't need to diet at all. But through gradually, gently beginning to listen again. That's all. It is not a rush. It is not a competition against anybody. And most importantly, it's not even a competition with yourself. So take the brakes off. It's fine. And discovering that what you heard was actually worth hearing, what your body wants to tell you. So beginning to listen to it again. So I mentioned one or two things previously, okay? One or two things previously. Noting that the first thing I'd offer is this. Start small and start with the body's yes before you try to work with the body's no. So we've said about the breathing, we've said about the body scan. So notice what expansion feels like. Excuse me. Not relief, not the absence of anxiety, but genuine expansion. The subtle opening of the chest when something aligns. The quality of ease that's different from numbness. And we all know what that feels like. The sense of moving towards something rather than away from something else. Because a lot of people who come to this work are very good at noticing when something feels wrong. Yeah. And we get very, very comfortable. Listen to my voice. I've been recording these for too long. I've been losing my voice. I am listening to my body, and I will be taking a break after this video. So, that's quite ironic, really, isn't it? It's so ironic. Okay, so only. Okay. Yeah, of numbness. The sense of moving towards something rather. See, I've said I'm going to have a break now. Now it goes, okay, I'll try for a little bit longer. Towards something rather than away from something else. Because a lot of people who come into this work are very good at noticing when something feels wrong. The contraction, the alarm, the unease. They've had to be, but they're less practiced at noticing when something feels genuinely right. That positive signal is equally as important. Start building a vocabulary for what your body actually does. And I'm not going to tell you what that is. Not what it should do, not what you'd like it to do, but what it actually does, specifically when you're in a situation that aligns versus when it doesn't. That matters. more than being precise. Feel the signal. The more reliable you can, and basically, the better you can bloody use it. And when the body speaks, you notice it's speaking. Try not to immediately override it with analysis. Don't keep on going straight up here. When you feel something here, don't immediately go to here. Just acknowledge it first. Because again, you bring your awareness. We go into the observer effect like we do in the book, where it's over there. Yeah? You're bringing your awareness to it. Your body's having this reaction, and you're going, okay, what's that doing? What's that telling me? What does that mean to me? You don't have to act on every single signal immediately, but let yourself hear it before you decide what to do with it. That's the beginning of a different kind of relationship with your own intelligence, because your body has its own intelligence within it. Start using it. One that doesn't require you to choose between thinking and feeling, but that lets them work together. Each one informing the other. Again, all of the different systems are working together. So we're one episode away from the end. Well, the end of this one says 5. And the first episode brings and the final episode brings everything together. The sensitivity, the coincidences, the patterns in your relationship, the body that's knowing. And it asks one final question. Which I think is really the conclusion. Is what if everything you've always felt was already true? And I've put here, and you just needed language for it, but I actually think it goes beyond just the language. Because it's that trusting of yourself. And that's where we're going next. And I think for a lot of people, that episode is going to feel like something settling. As always, if you want to go deeper into the science, the framework, the practical tools, and in the full map of that frequency of truth, the link to the book is in the bio beneath. But I'd love to know if there was a moment where your body knew something before your mind did. When did you listen, and when did you override it, and what happened? What really happened? So until the next video, thank you so much for being with me. Thank you so much for listening. And I really hope this has resonated. It has been one of the harder subjects to really sort of dive into. These were only supposed to be a 20-minute video, but there was a bit of extra information coming in there, which is always useful. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I will see you in the next video. If you do wish to get hold of me, as I said, all the details are in the description below. But from my heart to yours, I'll see you in the next one.